Welcome to today's discussion on harnessing the power of open transaction network for tourism, art, and culture. The creative industries are a significant contributor to global GDP, with tourism, art, and culture driving economic growth and social development. The creative industries are evolving. Technology enables new experiences, business models, and collaborations. For panel discussions on group networks and digital infrastructure, I welcome Mr. Kanishka Aigwal, Head of Service Lines India and South Asia, Amazon Web Services, to be the moderator of the session. Mr. Aigwal has led a team of experts in delivering digital innovations and deep tech services to various sectors such as public, education, healthcare, travel, and transportation. With a vast experience in multiple domains, Mr. Kanishka Aigwal is an expert passionate about reimagining process and enhancing user experience by leveraging technology in a user context. We also have a wonderful set of panelists. I would like to welcome Sujit Nair, CEO and co-founder of FIDE, Satish Shekhar, Director of Kalgi Foundation, Alok Gupta, Chief Solutions and Product Officer, Step Foundation, Professor S.R. Mahadeva Prasanna, Director of IIT Dharwad, Shan M.S., Co-founder and COO, Nammayatri. I request Kanishka Aigwal to take over the session.
Check, check. Okay, thanks. All right, afternoon, everyone. First of all, this is at 12:30. We were told, can we compress this? We said no, we won't compress it. It's supposed to be the job of the one who comes at 4 p.m. So they will compress their sessions. We will have for the full 30 minutes. But before that, I'll begin with an apology. We were just coming off the last panel, and what you heard of the last panel, I think it's a miss that we don't have enough diversity on this panel. It's a man-only panel. We will do better the next time, and hopefully we'll have more representation on this, something for us to take back. But at least for the next 30 minutes, I'll assure you, you'll have a lot of fun. We'll try and keep it as informal as possible. You've got some of the leading guys as far as DPI is concerned, and a lot of their services you've already leveraged. If you're a Bangalorean, then you have used Namayatri. You have seen what FIDE has been doing with a number of these open networks and what OneTac is now promising to do. What I want to kick off is, with Sujit. Sujit's been with FIDE for the longest time. He's been a co-founder with FIDE. I've interacted with FIDE for quite some time on this. And the way I understand FIDE and the entire beckon protocol and the way it has really been put out is, what if you could actually make a decentralized way to transact? Which is, you have a supply and a demand problem, but generally you have somebody in the middle who actually says, look, you go here, this person has so-and-so product and this person has so-and-so need. What if you took out that middleman in between and said, I can have a peer-to-peer connection that will allow you to transact without those middleman coming in and playing, let's say, that interchange or interface, really. And I think, in a nutshell, that's what FIDE really attempts to do. We've seen some great examples of FIDE as it has been moving through over the last couple of years. And Sujit, you've been right at the center of it, driving that. It's not just for India, but he was just speaking to me prior to this. He was telling me that there's a lot of work that's now happening in the US, in the Europe and other areas as well. So help us, Sujit. What is FIDE? What is Beckon, and how is it powering the next gen of decentralized networks?
Thanks, Kanish. Now, firstly, when you're talking about decentralized ecosystems, it's unfair to say that I'm at the center of it. The whole point of decentralization is to have everybody be at the center, and technically, therefore, nobody at the center. Now, but thank you for that. The background. I think the work we are doing with Beckon Protocol, which is, as a quick intro, is an effort that FIDE has contributed to. We are the genesis author of an open set of bunch of standards or protocol specifications. It's been fascinating to see how an idea, which first of all is not a radical thought. I mean, we have open networks all around us. Internet is the biggest example of an open network. Your mobile phones, your telecom networks are open networks. They are decentralized. And why are they decentralized? The essential idea, as Kanishk was mentioning, you don't have to be on internet. You don't have to be or on emails. That's also another example of an open network. That's an easy example to give. When you use any of your email platforms like Hotmail, Gmail, or anything, you don't expect the receiver on the other end to use the same email platform. You don't insist that they should be on Hotmail or a Gmail. They could use any other email platform. And this idea that a person can be on any platform and interact with a person who's on any other platform, and therefore there's no central middleman, as Kanish put it, is the essential idea of internet as well. I can use any browser to access any website. I can use any connection. Let's say I can use Airtel to talk to a friend who's using AT&T connection somewhere in US. That idea was something that we sort of abdicated in the world of digital commerce, digital economy, where we moved from networks to platforms. We have these marketplaces, ride-hailing companies, your food delivery companies. We have come with this notion that if any consumer provider were to interact with each other, you need to have somebody in the center as an aggregator. But if you just fall back on the design of a good old internet and telecom, you realize that it is possible for consumer and provider to be on two different sort of digital interfaces. It could even be a browser on an Android-based phone, and they can still discover and transact each other. That thinking back in 2020, in the middle of pandemic, got manifested into what we all now know as an ONDC, or Open Network for Digital Commerce, that has probably clocked about 15 million transactions, crossed about 100 million transactions in its lifetime of 2 years. We have Sean from Namayatri here, which has been a fascinating story of how a backend protocol thinking does that. Now, is it just about commerce? Is it just about mobility? We are seeing this also in skilling. We have Alok here from Step Foundation. We are leading some of the work in education and skilling with this form of thinking. And therefore, we think that open network is a very natural way of thinking that we should be bringing it to the center of our conversation. We're doing some work in energy, and particularly about tourism, which is such a complicated, sort of a sector. I mean, tourism is a sector which also has hospitality, which also has transportation, which also has attraction, it also has events like this. Right in the backdrop, we have a fascinating Bangalore Palace. How do you bring them all together? When there's fundamentally fragmented and we are working on a very, very low trust, high cost equilibrium as an economy around tourism, how do we bring them together? Are we expecting one platform that will solve for every city, every tourism corner in the country to bring them all together? Or how do we make everybody come together, do their one part, and plug into this network, and collectively we can create this larger internet-like tourism economy, which will give agency, whether it's a tourist guide, whether it's a heritage site, it's an event organizer. Everybody has a way and autonomy to participate and make themselves discoverable, accessible to any tourist out there, whether they're domestic or international. I think that spirit behind the initiative, One TAC or Open Network for Tourism, is something that I'm particularly very excited about, having seen some of the work in ONDC and Namayatri. Kanisha.
Super, thanks, Sujit. In fact, taking a cue on that, right? I think somebody actually put it very beautifully. The government's job is essentially to build highways. So if you think of in a very physical standard, it's let's build a highway, and basis that highway, I've given you electricity, I've given you sanitation, I've given you plumbing and all of the stuff. But beyond that, they really get out of the way and then say, well, somebody come and build a fuel pump there. Somebody come and build the next mall, the next station to run a mall or a residential layout or whatever it may be. And I think that's what really DPI is, and what you're trying to do is that let me provide you that infrastructure. Let me provide you those digital highways or digital lines that will allow other people to start plugging in and innovating around it, which you have done with Beacon, which is provide that protocol. Today you've got multiple players or multiple industries making use of it. So if Sujit spoke to you about UEI and other places, including around the skilling piece. But there is one big poster child of Bangalore. How many of you use Namayatri here? Oh, that's a big crowd. Sean, you've got a fan following already. Namayatri, I think, is one of those fantastic apps that have got of a hockey stick sort of adoption, if I may call it. It went like this, right, in a span of 9 or 10 months. So, Sean, tell us more about your journey, how Namayatri was conceptualized, and what is the what is the adoption or what is the success you're seeing with Namayatri?
So thanks to all the fans and soon to be the fans. Please send more feedback and definitely improve as well. I think big thanks to Beacon Foundation. Our journey on mobility started with the concept of what a open network could do. We always got excited about India's DPA story. I think the great example is UPI. We were fortunate to be part of that and have seen how it has uplifted people. It has enabled possibilities which was not possible, and not just that, it also enabled beautiful experiences which otherwise was not possible in the previous UPI, pre-UPI era, etc. I think to come in to the overall scheme of things, so we call it as scaling empathy, and scaling empathy can happen only through technology. So in that sense, an open network became a beautiful enabler to bring people, to give the power back to the people and make mobility a completely a community driven initiative. When it is community driven, right, lot more possibilities can happen. One, the biggest advantage for a driver is he is going to rightfully get the earnings that he deserves to get. So we launched the zero commission model. Today we are fortunate and happy to say that a lot of industry veterans who have been in the industry for decades is moving to this model. A driver who spends hours and hours of his work, he should get the full benefit, not just the earnings, a little bit of flexibility, freedom, to do a little bit of autonomy, the way all of us like to have the freedom and autonomy. That's what Namayatri brought in, and it was loved by the drivers. Drivers liked it to such an extent that they started promoting it to the customers as well. And customers loved it as the Bangalore's very own app, and the word of mouth started kicking in as well. And because everything is open, when we say everything is open, the software is open, the data is open, you can check, let's say, in this ward, how many drivers are online, how many trips are happening, what is the cancellation, etc. All this data is out in the public. So to an extent that this is being used by some of the government departments to do the planning, urban planning, etc. And part of an open network and the protocol, open protocol as well. This enables much more innovation and collaboration as well. Whatever we have done in mobility, it is not because of a company. It is definitely because of the massive community support, be it the drivers or the customers. We usually say that, okay, to make an innovation like this to happen, India is the best place, and probably Bangalore is the best place, because it's a place where a community is very, very open to try out something new. Imagine we coming in as a fifth or a sixth player in mobility and then trying to launch something. Bangalore was very open to that. The drivers are very open to that. That's the community part. And government, the Sarkar part also, right? Many a times, government is very open to trying out new things. They promoted, they supported, and open network and ONDC, which is built over and Beacon, right? That became a great enabler as well, and not finally the corporate part as well. All the innovations and the best of the technology coming together. So an open network definitely plays a very important role in collaborating between Samaj, Sarkar and Bazaar. I would attribute that success of Namayatri, and it's a very, very early days and it has to go across the rest of the Karnataka. I'll end with a one small example of how an open network has enabled a small town called Tumkur. It's 70 kilometers from here in Karnataka. There was no ride-hailing app in that town. People used to walk to the nearby auto station to book an auto. Within a span of last 6 to 9 months, that city with 300 odd drivers is doing 3,000 trips a day. It's a story that I think all of us should be proud of for enabling digital. Today, other examples of Kalburgi, Mangalore, so many other small towns and are waiting for a digitization, and open network model is what will enable these cities to be digitized. Thank you.
Super. Thank you, Sean. In fact, I don't know how many of you've seen the movie Dark Knight Rises. It's a Batman movie, and there's a villain or central character in that called the Bane. One of the famous dialogues he uses is, "We are giving back power to the people." Sean actually used that statement just now, which is we give back power to the people so that they can then transact, they can essentially have a democratized access to services, to opportunities, or whatever you may through this network. Just quick call out to the organizers. We've lost signal on the counter or the timer here. Sorry, somebody from the organizing team listening? Yeah, we've lost signal. So we don't know how long we are going. If we cross 30 minutes, it's too bad. You have to blame them. Okay, getting to Satish on this. I think Satish, you're trying to do something now with the entire one tack piece, right? Which is around the tourism, art, culture, essentially. And I think where India really stands is we've got probably one of the most richest tourism, art, and culture in the world, if not the one across the world, right? But I think where we have a challenge is there are some pockets which are obviously well known, but there are a large part of India that hitherto is unexplored or untouched, or people don't know. I know about a Chennapatna doll, but I don't know if a North Indian knows about it, or if somebody who is in Imphal knows what's happening, knows what is happening in Imphal, but I don't know what is happening sitting in Bangalore. And that's one way for you to promote and know or empower small, medium, and rural artisans. I think OneTac is trying to do a large part of that, including conserve and bring to fore what India has to offer in terms of its richness and its culture, art, and tourism. So why don't you tell us more about what is OneTac trying to do, leveraging Beacon?
Sure. So one tack, let's understand this from two perspectives. One is the demand side and the supply side. So from the demand side, as a tourist, if you really want to plan your travel, you have the booking platforms for your travel accommodation. But if you really want to explore the art and the culture, the local culture part, it is a manual search. You don't have a seamless information or a verified information which is available anywhere. It is always a manual search or a reference, or you speak to some people, you check the blogs, or you get into some kind of a social media influencers site just to understand what is that you could do in that region. But on the other side, the supply side, not many people are onto the digital forte yet. Only few people like the chain hotels and the other people are on the booking platforms and other things. But a lot more people have to be got into the digital forte. So that's where we understood that tourism, art, and culture is a part of one sector. It should be considered as one sector rather than siloed as different segments. Unless and until we do that, we are not going to do any justice to this particular sector. So even if you take tourism, in that there are many facets. But let's take the monuments which we have. Look, we have about 3,500 plus nationally protected monuments, but our budget for that is just 1% of the total budget which has been allocated. What is the total number of people who are actually guarding this 3,500 national monuments? It's average about 2 to 3 people. So that is the kind of budget which has been given. So when that is the fate of the national monuments, assume the state protected monuments, assume about the unprotected monuments. So that is where the technology has to come into picture, where we try to do a 3D cloud point, create some kind of a digital assets, allow innovations to happen around it. And only when such things happen, when there's an economic activity there, is when the governments will start, implementing on the infrastructure at that area. Otherwise, even for the next 2 or 3 decades, we would continue to only be, going to the well-known promoted monuments, and we will obviously, not get into the unpopular monuments, but yet a very beautiful monuments that India actually possesses. Now, even you take the art sector, there are at least about 84 plus different kind of folk arts that is there in India, and close to about 50 are on the verge of becoming extinct. It is time that we, the technology has to come into picture where we try to, get the data recorded, try to do that mapping with the knowledge, map. That's where, you can do a lot of innovations with people plus AI. Many more innovations can happen even in the art sector. So even in this, not more than about 15-20% people are onto the digital fold. If the majority of the populations are still outside the digital fold, working in the offline model or that. Culture, we don't even have to talk because every 100 kilometers in India has a different culture, name it to be dialect, attire, cuisine, everything. So we can't have a kind of a system which is one size fits all. That's where we need a decentralized network. We need these open transaction networks. We need to create hubs which allows the local people to create their own strategy of tech assets. How do they promote that? So like how Kanishka said about Chanpatna toys, they should be able to promote their own offbeat destinations for tourism. How they connect to the artisans there? How do they connect to the culture there? What kind of cuisine? And all these informations has to be available digitally, which is verifiable in real time. Till then, we will not gain the trust of any kind of a tourist. So that is the objective of one TAC, where we want to make sure that all the districts in India has been considered as a tourist destination. Give them the platform, give them all the technology tools which is required for them to promote domestically and globally. That's when we will be able to grow our tourism, from whatever present GDP to into 10x. So that is the whole objective of One Tech.
Thanks, Satish. In fact, I actually concur with that 100-kilometer piece, right? Like, for example, if you see Bangalore Malleshwaram versus Bangalore Whitefield, there's a culture difference. It's 100 kilometers apart or whatever number of kilometers apart. In fact, you should
It may not be 100 kilometers, but 100 minutes to travel.
100 minutes to get. In fact, I would recommend that you encourage people on the outskirts, which is Whitefield, Sarjapur, etc., to experience Bangalore Central. Because that is actually a tourism destination for a number of them. Anyway, getting to Alok. Alok, I think Ekstep has been fairly a fulcrum for a number of DPI engagements, not just related to FIDE, but across multiple other aspects of India's DPI story. I mean, today you have got Sunbird, you've got the whole set of modules that are coming off Sunbird, which is helping power some of our education, delivery itself, as well as those entire registry credentialing systems that are coming off it. I think the overall DPI story that Ekstep has been driving has been a very central focus or a central, let's say, catalyst for India's DPI success itself. Because today, India is known as the place for all of the DPI engagements, and there are a number of organizations or countries looking to adopt this from us. Tell us more of what Ekstep is trying to do and how all of this is coming together. As you see now, a OneTAC coming, a UEI coming, a Namayatri coming. And it's not been an easy journey. It's been a journey of several years for you to get here. Tell us more about it.
Yeah, so I'll take all of us away from technology a bit. What is really DPI? I mean, if you look at a fundamental, DPI is what empower individuals at scale for improving their social and economic well-being in a non-linear way. And I remember in my early days at Aadhaar, one of the bank managers made a comment that the current banking system is made for classes, not for masses. And that's what fundamentally India witnessed, right? How DPI broke those shackles. How India has seen multiple waves of, if I say digital transformation, be it financial inclusion, be it social benefits. When the world was struggling to distribute, money during COVID days, India was doing that seamlessly. Or be it, beyond the financial inclusion and social benefits. Now India is also witnessing how the masses are now, basically, investing in the economy, right? The depth of that is growing, tremendously. And if you look at from there, where the open networks really take it to the next level, is how do you take it, the access to essential services and the fundamental services to really meeting the aspirations of masses. And that's where India is witnessing, tremendous work being done, whether it is, commerce, ONDC, whether it is honest in a skilling perspective, or the work which is in progress in the agriculture sector, right? The point fundamentally is that if you really want the scale of population to be participatory in the social economic well-being, DPI makes that possible. It breaks all the boundaries. Now, in context to going beyond India, I think there is a strong recognition, and it's pretty much established across the globe, that if countries wants to enable their digital transformation in a non-linear way, DPI is the only way. In fact, there is a significant momentum globally to achieve that. Countries, irrespective of the globe continent, are aspiring towards that, irrespective of what their current development journey is. And the strongest indication to that is recently there were 193 countries who basically signed on Global Digital Compact, where the recognition of the role of DPI was central to that signation. There are multiple type of organizations are coming together, be it the developmental organizations, be it your
philanthropic foundations, be it institutional funding, and be it market. And of course, you're here, Kanish, from AWS, and you know, right? I mean, how AWS is partnering with Step to really activate the capacity of market, right? Globally, activating the capacity at a local level, in the country context, but also doing it globally, because the amount of capacity which you require, there is no way one organization or one type of organization can achieve that. So there's a significant momentum towards that. And if you really go fundamental point in context to coming back to one tag, human being, in many ways is a social animal. And one of the things which is well established, that as a species, humans are far better than any other species because our ability to create and engage in large networks. When we talk about open networks, it's taking it to the next level. How are you breaking down the barriers of physicality to next level is what open network is doing, which all of us have witnessed in context to internet, in context to the information access. But now that is moving to the level of access to services, access to social and economic well-being of individuals at scale. And I think what once tag is adding value to this is fundamentally adding significant value to the social aspect of it. Because all of us in our different contexts, doesn't matter where we live, we are connected to different practices, culture, and arts. I think one tag fundamentally deepening the engagement on that at a totally different level, and a significant contribution to the economic aspect is a very important aspect. The key point here is how do you make every person standing being digitally enabled, being able to participate in the economy digitally. And the beauty of, I think, one tag is that it can actually transcend boundaries. Because when you talk about culture and art, I think that is one of the areas where collaboration across countries is far more, possible. The boundary restrictions and concerns are far more lesser.
Sure. Thanks, Alok. In fact, I kind of agree on some of these areas where Step especially has been driving this, right? To be on the global forums and help further the cause of DPI requires a central or one nodal body, one nodal organization to do that. And that's where I think Step has been doing a fantastic job of helping elevate our pitch globally. I think and I've been associated with Step for quite some time on this. One of the things that we've also been seeing is there are a lot of member organizations or external organizations, countries that come down. When the G20 was happening, a large number of countries came down. There were a ton of show and tell that also happened at that point in time. And these were at Step offices or similar such places. And the wow factor that created for some of these organizations or countries was phenomenal. I recall that there was an entire UPI transaction that was being done, and one of the ministers was just taken aback. He said, "Is no money being exchanged?" And we said, "No, there's no money being exchanged. It's just a QR code. You scan it, money is transferred, the person is happy. He just gets a message which says 30 rupees debited or 30 rupees transferred, and that's about it." And it almost seemed like wizardry for them. It was beyond magical for a number of them. And that's really the power of some of the DPI that India has pulled through, which is make it so simple that it almost seems like magic when you have pulled it off. So with that, let me go to Professor Prasanna. And I think a large part of the innovation couldn't have happened without the support of the academic sector. We've done a ton of hackathons. Hackathons that have happened either on the Beacon protocol, on ONDC, on even the earlier pieces of Sunbird or UPI. Almost most of these applications or point solutions have come through a bunch of academic support. And the academic support could have been in various forms. It could have been in terms of either hackathons, or it could have been a sustained proof of concepts, first of a kind, and so on and so forth. But that's been a start point before the startup community starts getting galvanized. And I want to get to you, professors. What are your thoughts primarily around how the academic community can come together, especially to support things like OneTag, things that are around the entire DPI ecosystem itself?
Thank you, Kanish. As co-panelists mentioned, we have open network, we have digital infrastructure. Then to take it at scale, the only place is we have to move it to an open space. Academics is an open space, and also the number of applications that we can visualize are infinite. So the only way to create them is move to an open space, academic space, and make the Gen Z to generate new applications, visualize and dream applications. So in that way, that is one part. Later, we can think about now the ones they through the hackathons and other means we can generate new applications and then move up them in terms of startups, other things. That is one vertical. The second vertical is later sanitize and get the academic programs, certificate programs, and later gradually moving into a degree program, which is essentially in terms of where industry case study based, then learner centric approach. So with that, we will be able to, over time, we'll be able to get a good academic standing for this open tax. Thank you.
In fact, Professor, I would also add that there are a number of, let's say, incubators that have often come off academic institutions. So we have seen a number of institutions bringing up these incubators, getting them to a certain stage, giving them the necessary support, whether it is institutional support, financial support, or even technology support, and then from then on help them, say, get into the whole bigger space. It's almost like let's nurture them till they're able to fly on their own, and I think that's where larger institutions like IIIT, Dharwad, and other places can play a big role in incubating these.
Definitely. So that.
All right, with that, I think we've come almost to the close of the session. We're just on time. We've got a great panel discussion or a fireside chat right after this. So please stay tuned. But thank you, everybody from the panel. Fantastic discussion on OneTac. Encourage you. Please use Namayatri. That's my favorite tagline for today. Thanks.
For this session's moderator, Mr. Prashant Prakash, founding partner, ASL India, chairman of the Vision Group of Startups, Government of Karnataka, and chairman of Kalki Foundation. I would also like to welcome Mr. Pramod Verma, former chief architect, Aadhaar and India Stack, chief technological officer at Step Foundation, co-founder FIDE.org, and co-creator of Beacon Protocol, co-chair at Center for DPI. On to you, sir.
The best part, I think the previous panel must have covered most of the points.
Yeah, so we can.
We can just get it
So
done.
this
very
is
quickly,
so hopefully this will be the icing on that.
I hope so.
Yeah.
I hope so.
So Pramod, I thought it's good to kind of frame the context, right, and look at why is this an important space, right? There are many areas that you guys have chipped away over time, Of course, you started with where the money is, which is great, right? So everybody kind of got value or saw instant value. Education, you guys went into education, and then e-commerce, right? And now something that kind of straddles everything, right? I think what we're going to talk about today has a little bit of everything. So maybe you want to talk about the set the context for the space that we're looking at.
So there is a little bit of history, by the way, to the even before the idea of open networks and backend protocol effort we did. After Aadhaar, when we reached 600 million people, when Nandan Nilekani exited 2015, then we went on to do 1 billion people. Aadhaar in 5.5 years. India just literally demonstrated that we can do at population scale, transformation at population scale. But the best part was that we went on to do that for e-sign, DigiLocker, and of course UPI. I mean, if anybody is not using UPI, I'd be sad. I think it'd be pretty bad. The fact that we did, but there's a funny story. In 2000, after 2015, that's when 2015 early is when we started Extra Foundation, where I'm a CTO, Alok was there. Nandan Nilekani attempted his political, a little bit short political attempt, and the good thing that I think he didn't win. Yeah, probably. Yeah, I think he would have been much better otherwise. We actually spoke about taking on travel tourism.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. We were really considering whether we want to do that as the next big thing. While we were doing, the underlying infrastructure like payment, DigiLocker and identity, Aadhaar, of course, continue to grow. We asked, what is the transactional economy? What is the, that we can boost through a digital approach? And invariably, we went into travel. And I think it goes back to your point, Prajat, that if you actually crack this puzzle of travel and tourism, of course, highlighting the culture, it has such ripple effect in terms of local economy, jobs, transportation, everything else, including roads have to get better to even tourism, right? So it has such second order, third order effects. I was telling Nandan that if you want to do one more gig like Aadhaar, you should take up travel and tourism. I'm so glad finally.
Finally we partnered on this.
Finally we partnered.
Great. I think that's a very good background to this. So there's some things, there's like we say, you need to get to the right
out
time.
of the head.
Yeah. So, we have been one of the oldest civilizations, right? Living civilizations globally. Very fragmented in terms of, the breadth of culture we have. 20, 30, 40 states, I don't know. We're losing count of the number of states, but there is something unique in each state and something unique in each location. But very tough to discover, right? Very tough to. So if we have to maybe start, let's say, on the supply side, and who are the kind of participants, or who are what are we solving for the supply side here?
So before that, I think we should ask ourselves, why does India's travel and tourism sector underperform?
Yeah, I think it's a good.
This is a very important question. Why do we have such thousands of years of culture, history, and it's an evolving culture? It's not that it's not like a dead culture like many other places you see. Yeah. We are a living culture that is actually living through with many of that is there. But if you look at the number of transactions or number of travelers, tourists, whether domestic or foreign, a tiny island like in Phuket does more number of people than whole of India, and that's a shame. Actually, that's a shame that we are unable to, what do you call, up-level our travel tourism to a level that allows a mega economic impact to happen, because without the
Right.
economic impact, sustainability won't come. So people should benefit. Local communities, service economy, the travel tourism, cooking, food. I mean, we have an amazing diversity that we can showcase. But two things we have caused, I think, this issue. One, primarily, I think we have alluded that in the paper.
Yeah.
One is a fragmentation, the word you
Fragmentation,
used, the
right.
fragmentation word you used. We are very fragmented. Fragmentation is not good. Many diverse culture is a good thing, but fragmentation is not a good thing. So we must figure out how do we unify, how do we create a shared playground where every nook and corner can benefit. So that's one way to think about
so
it.
That's aggregation of supply.
Yeah.
Is one
No,
at some
I
level.
would actually, maybe one level below, before the aggregation comes, what are the underpinning capabilities that we must create, that trust as a capability,
Basically the right identified players.
players,
Yeah.
people, locations, providers, even tour guides.
Right.
I was in Hyderabad a few years ago, and I've been to many times in Hyderabad. Never went to Golconda Fort, so I thought I would go to Golconda Fort. It was really bad.
Yeah, the experience is
I think that's the second part, right? We don't focus on storytelling and experiencing. We simply display. We are in a world of display and not experiencing. I think we must move from display to experiencing very, very quickly. Without that storytelling capability, and people must experience, and I mean, even young people here,
yeah.
given a chance, they would go stand in front of Eiffel Tower.
Yeah.
They would, no?
Yes.
Eiffel Tower, yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, I
yeah,
would,
yeah.
Romantic. Supposedly romantic. By the way, it is nice, okay? I'm not poo-pooing Paris. It's a good place, nice place. But it is merely a metal structure. And the metal structure doesn't even, frankly, there is nothing other than that metal structure that they constructed. Neither tall, neither good looking,
No, but they made it
it's
a
such an
photo.
icon.
It's an aspirational
It's
photo.
a story.
Yeah, it's
No,
a story.
it's about storytelling. It's about experiencing and people connecting alternate notions of romantic notions to Eiffel Tower, which has nothing to do with romance. It's just a storytelling that comes through. I think we must figure that out. So I think there is a way we must reimagine the tour travel culture. And the best part of India is that India's middle class is rising, of course, very
Yes.
well. And India's domestic tourism is vibrant, which is very, very good. So we must take advantage of the fact that middle class is ready to travel and experience. And we must take advantage of the fact that foreigners would like to come here.
No, this is a very good
This
point.
why
Prabhu.
is very
Yeah.
key.
Because if you don't, they will start going abroad.
They'll go somewhere.
Right?
No? People want to spend money.
Once the people have money,
Yeah.
so you're actually going to lose an opportunity of a class that is now has the disposable income, but you're
Yeah.
not able to, like you said,
They are harnessed.
provide the
Yeah.
stories and have them relate.
And Prashant, now come back to the supply question you
Yeah,
asked.
yeah.
No? What do we need to bring it together? We need to bring a lot of pieces of the puzzle together. We need to bring together infrastructure, ability to travel, our number of hotels, by the way, number of hotels across India is less than, I think, number of hotel rooms in Paris or something like that. So it's these numbers are staggering, by the way. You should see India's hotel capacity supply is very few. But ask yourself, if you are a commercial business person, why would you set up a hotel preemptively if there is no signaling that business will come your way?
Yes.
Now, individual businesses can't do this. So this is why either DPI approach, digital public infrastructure approach, a national approach to unifying allows signaling that these areas are going to come up, they're going to be showcased, get ready for the supply. So supply will come when there is a demand. and demand starts generating when there's supply. So it's a little bit of a chicken and egg problem.
yes.
And this cracking this chicken and egg problem is tricky, but I think India definitely has done it before and must be able to do it.
No, there is a big appetite, like
Big
that's
appetite,
what
yeah.
he said,
I
right?
agree,
So,
I
and Pramod, how do we, on the trust part, there's a big aspect of rating in tourism, and the big aspect of there's different quality, softer aspects to this type of. It's not a hard thing, like it's not just about payments or logistics or transportation, where there is, if you fulfill a transaction, you're done. Here you could have fulfilled something, but the experience could be crap, right? So how that experiential element, how do you weave it into a protocol and into this kind of experience?
No,
Where do you see that coming into your open grid stack?
No, I think we must start with defining experiences. Not place to go. Experiences. Experiences contain many sub-elements.
Correct.
Okay, for that experience to happen, you need a place to stay, you need a mechanism to go, you need local transport, you need, maybe as part of the experience there is some local culture showcase.
Yes.
So you need artisans or other cultural elements to be woven into that experience. You start unbundling from the experience layer. So you define these experiences, unbundle, and ask ourselves, why would that supply come together nicely to create that experience layer? What is their incentive? How do we make sure good supply pop up and bad supply disappear automatically?
Yes.
Without
how does
government
that-
coming in the way of saying
Correct.
you was a good one. The government cannot do any of this. According to me,
Yeah.
it will be very hard for government to do, other than notional support and the mission support. I think they can do a mission support. State governments and central government can do mission support, but don't expect them to implement. We must leverage both community energy. Community means influencers, local communities, young generation who are out there showcasing experiences in many of the social media. Harness their community energy, and also harness market energy. Market energy is sustainable.
Yeah, now we are talking demand. So how do
No,
we?
so you have to start there.
Yeah.
You have to start there to figure out, if you want these experiences, let's say we want to do a pilot, we want these experiences, who are the community players, who are the market players, unbundle
Yes.
that, and then go to the supply. Supply is towards crafting.
Yeah, crafting
these
and
experiences.
fulfilling a
Fulfilling
particular
these experiences. Correct.
experiences. I understand. So I think I think now we have covered, at some level, how this whole equation kind of comes into place, right? And a good thing to talk about is, how does one get started, right? You had this experience of piloting everything, right? From the Aadhaar days to the ONDC pilot. From all those experiences, how do you create, or untangle this chicken and egg situation, right? And from your experiences in the context of tourism, art, and culture, what partnerships, what ecosystem relationships would be important for us to foster to kind of get this bootstrapped?
Okay, a lot of us as designers don't go pilot first. We do design and then pilot to prove the design works at scale.
Right.
Because if you do pilot quickly, you work with Malini, here, I'm very sure we'll get a great experience done in Bangalore. But how did it happen countrywide? Why would 100 such efforts happen? It's very hard to answer that question. So we have to first design what works at scale. So if you look at Aadhaar, it took a year to design. If you look at UPI, it took a year and a half to design. ONDC took 3 years by the time we got to the
Right,
ONDC. So
right.
we must not underestimate the idea of designing the playground. Not designing specific experience. I'm not saying, oh, in Bangalore, this is what you should see. Or in Kerala, you should.
Yeah, the overall playground.
The playground.
ecosystem.
How does the playground work? Once a playground design is done, and we ask why behind the why should it work, why should it sustain, why should people trust that, why will not people not game it, why would you have to keep artificially drugging it,
Right.
why would it self-sustain, and why would the good experiences bubble up and bad experiences go away? We have to ask why, and then distill that design. Once a design is done, a paper design, you can get large community to participate in that design effort. When we have the design blueprint, then you pilot it.
So, quick question is, what are the kinds of players who usually participate in this, so that people get a sense?
By design, all our designs have been multi-sectoral, multi-expertise teams. Never put one tech team in the
in the middle of
or
it.
one government team or culture team. It has to be a combination of, even legal questions will come up. Are there any issues like that? Are there any security issues or grievance management issues? What do we do if there's tourist is attacked or something happened to do? Is there a national fabric to deal with that and quickly deal with such issues? Because if they dominate, then we have a self-collapsing system, right? So we have to ask these questions by bringing human behavior experts, cultures, tourism, travel experts, technology experts, and legal and other regulatory experts. But you don't put all of them in one room and discuss. Very bad idea. Okay,
Right.
nothing will come out of it.
Right.
So the way you do about it is really you take a design and then you get a first, let's say, version 0.1 of the design, and then you go to people,
Yeah,
and then
and
you
kind
say
of-
what works, what should work, what could fail, what do you think, what else can we think about, and then keep incorporating into version 2, version 0.3, and so on. And then every once in a while you do a round table, larger round
Right.
table.
Once you get to maybe
Okay,
version
reasonable
the
shape.
0.5 or
Yeah,
something.
correct. And then once you get to a near 1.0 version, you can actually go to a pilot. You can actually, and when you do pilot, you ask this question again, like UPI experience. When we wanted UPI pilot, no big banks wanted to join. Largest banks didn't want to join. Largest card companies won't join. Payment guys won't join. So who do you go after for the pilot is very key. And in the pilot, you must prove all pieces of the puzzle are actually working, which is in the design. You have a design blueprint.
Yeah.
Is it really working?
Yeah.
Is market coming alive?
Right.
Is local community coming alive? Are local influencers coming alive? They have to ask these questions,
Yes,
right?
yes.
But when we do that, pilots, you always try to go after challengers and early movers. Early movers have nothing to lose.
And those are the ones we need to find. Right?
They will actually hack their way through because they have nothing to lose. The challenger, there are three categories. People who are starting, people who start off their journey, tourist market players or startups, or somebody who just want to be early influencer,
Right.
not the mega influencer,
Right.
who is like they're almost hungry enough to do. They will lose sleepless nights to build early pilots for you. But people who will actually invest are the middle section,
challenger.
category. Because the early categories find access to capital difficult for them because they are not a raised capital. And the challengers allow you to actually start scaling the pilot. Then incumbents, the big guys, will join little later.
Yeah, I mean, I think
They'll oppose also. So you have to really create what you call an inclusive design that everybody looks at that design and say, oh, there is something in for me. But there will be still one or two large platform players who might look at it and say, maybe this will reduce my transaction.
Right.
But frankly, from UPI experience,
yeah.
even the MasterCard Visa transaction went up 5x in India. So it's very funny to argue that UPI takes away somebody else's game. India is such a low performing world. We are still scratching the surface that when we do, everyone wins. That's actually a real advantage of this game.
No, that's
India, yeah.
and what's the role of government, and at what point, in what ways did you
Oh, yeah.
kind of work with them and like kind of
No, no,
also
no, no.
not get too entangled with them, right? I think both are
Yeah,
important.
no, I think, see, government comes with its own very, very powerful um, possibilities and their constraints. Government officers' constraints.
Yeah, in this case,
very
tourism
tough.
departments,
So,
where,
only so much capacity. I might be there for 2-3 months, and I get transferred. How much can I do really while I am there? So you ask this question: what are they really good at, and what are they bad at?
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
so in the good at part is regulatory shifts or early mission messaging, blessing, regulatory support. Maybe there you need to alter some mechanism, or maybe sometimes you need a new road or some new
Yeah,
infrastructure. Such these market guys can't build a road, right? So we need government to do bare minimum to support the mission, support the regulatory and policy interventions,
Bless it in
and,
some way.
and low level infrastructure. Like there's very interesting. Somebody asked me recently that, oh, I come from the artist Raja Ravi Verma family, so that's why
Raja Verma.
yeah, Raja Ravi Verma family. So that's why I have this cultural, artistic backbone. We asked ourselves, what if we create an experience of how he lived, the artist Raja Ravi Verma lived in 1780 or 1880, right, when he was living. And we have these rooms, and he has his palace right now, even now. But then we were wondering, there's no power, there's not enough. But somebody actually gave me an idea. Somebody was telling me, maybe the lack of power, lack of electricity is a good thing. Because 1880, you can actually give them original feel experience.
Yeah, just with oil lamps and
Oil lamps, maybe a local, that's how he lived. Maybe that's how, maybe people pay more not to have electricity. You never know.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. You never know. Provided the experience people take away touches their heart, and they become the spokesperson for that experience to propagate. They will go and tell, never miss this experience, go back and experience it. If we can convert from display to that experience, I think we have a way to go.
great. I think we covered all the aspects of how to get this marketplace going, and the pilot. I mean, getting the pilots. If you take a 5-year view on this, Pramod, what should we aspire? Should we look at it like something that is seeded pan-India at that point? I mean, of course, we could go.
Yeah,
broader.
absolutely. Now, if you look at all our digital public infrastructure effort, whether it's Aadhaar or UPI or DigiLocker or ONDC, everything is a decade-long, 1 decade-long journey to get to escape velocity, to get to a good state. Like UPI, there is no going back for India. We will never undo UPI, right? It's already escaped. Escape velocity has been achieved. DigiLocker, Aadhaar, it's all DigiLocker is not yet there, but Aadhaar is already done. DigiLocker will get there. Why is it? And the first 5 years is very key.
Yeah.
First 5 years get to the early majority adopting, early majority of Indians adopting and travelers adopting. I think we can get to an early majority with
5 years.
With 5 years, maybe we can target saying
Maybe about 10
100 world-class experiences, or
Yeah.
100, 200. We can put together
No,
as a
at least I would say meaningfully 10-20 clusters.
clusters
Yeah.
with few of 10-20 clusters, maybe 4-5 experiences each, maybe 100 odd experiences, world-class experiences, fully packaged. That means people can book it, experiences, and they will absolutely rave about it. I think we can get there. I have a feeling even Indians will queue up for this, because I don't know how many people have seen even India. India has so much more to see. I mean,
Yeah.
but we just don't see enough, right?
So if you had to
demand, I think, will
yeah.
come. If you package the supply well, demand will come.
How do startups participate in this, right? So
Excellent question.
And also, if you want to relate to somebody in the, I don't know if they're, in India they may be challenger, like an Airbnb, because they're not like, would you work with somebody who's slightly large, but maybe in the country, not, but who have elements of a similar system in place? If you look at how Airbnb works, right?
Yeah.
So would it be good to co-opt with somebody like that in this?
It's a very good question. So now we might have this incumbency problem with
Yes.
Airbnb or large travel websites. They might look at it as, why we are already doing it, no? Why should we do more? So we might now, on the other hand, if we can really show the early momentum of growth in transactions, very high chance they will join, because they can also grow. No, there's nothing wrong. They can also grow. We also have ONDC. So we have an open network marketplace as well, where we can actually bring tourism and travel experiences to be sold, bought, listed, and discovered.
Yeah, so
Listed,
this would be,
discovered, fulfilled.
yeah, it would be some like a subset of ONDC, or how do you see this?
No,
work?
so that connects us to the larger question you were asking. How does startups join?
Yeah.
So startups have fundamentally two areas. Whenever such large-scale infrastructure happen, you can play into either supply side. That means you as a startup,
Yeah.
you know your town or you know your state, you can go and say, I'm going to aggregate every homestay or every artisan or every dancer or every whatever. So you can become a supply side. Supply side, not only supply of main experiences, supply of guides,
Yeah.
supply of training capacity, supply of money. Like you can actually do lending towards building more homestays. So you can be a
Right.
lender in that. If you are a early stage fintech, you can actually play into saying, in tourism and travel, can I create specialized products, financial products that increases supply? So this
Right.
is supply side.
That's on the supply.
On the demand side, you can ask the question, do I look for demand in corporate travel? Do I go and target consumer travel? Consumer game is very hard, right?
Yeah.
Because eventually consumer acquisition and stay is hard. Yeah, that's why we see PhonePe and Google Pay and all doing few, but very difficult for consumer play to do, because none of you keep uninstalling every app. Nobody likes to install apps. So sometimes you have to ask the question, there are beyond consumers. You can do residential communities. You can go and tie up with corporates. You can go and tie up with many other sectors, B2B2C, not B2C.
Yeah.
So you have a lot of demand side mechanism. Even in demand, if you are a fintech, you can say, here is a product that gives you no interest, 6 months tourism loan offer. So I can do a lending offer for
Right.
travel. So you can look at insurances, lending, access to capital, access to booking, access to travel. If you are an aggregator of a taxi like Namayatri guys, Shan and all these guys who are here,
Yeah.
Namayatri can now say, oh, we have a special travel. People are coming on to Bangalore. We have a special voucher for you. And here is how you use Namayatri. And
Right.
experience an auto rickshaw drive. Experience. Don't look at it as, oh, I have to take an auto rickshaw. Maybe we can get an experience done under that.
Right.
And some of these guys are, Shan and all is thinking about it. Namayatri guys are thinking about it.
Super. I think
Opportunities plenty.
yes.
I think it's
So
for
no,
them
I
to
think
answer.
really
Yeah.
exciting. Like you
Yeah.
said, when was that? Going back to the when was the first time you
2015.
and so it's been like 20 years.
20 years.
20 years, but
Never late.
Good things take time.
Good things
Pramod,
take
on that
time.
note, thank you for the support. Shout out to Amazon
Yeah.
and the
Absolutely.
the IT and BT department and the secretary Ekrup Kaur is here. Thank you for her support.
Thank you for
and I
hosting
think
us.
I have this big believer that all things new. This is the city of new beginnings. All things new have to start from here. And this is one more new thing from Bangalore. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Enjoy the rest of the day.
Thank you for the wonderful session, sir. I would like to request Mr. Prashant Prakash to felicitate Pramod Verma. I would also like to request all the panelists of the last session to come over the stage. Okay. I'd like to welcome Ms. Ekrup Kaur, Secretary of Department of Electronics and ITBT, Government of Karnataka. Dr. Ratan Kelkar, IAS, Secretary IT and Environment, Government of Kerala. Karthik Kittu, Director, Kalki Foundation. Malini Goel, Founder, Unboxing Benagluru. And Nikhil Velanpur from AWS. Also Ruchi Bindal, Deputy Secretary of IT and BT, Government of Karnataka. I request all the dignitaries to join us for the unveiling of the concept note of One Tech. I request everyone again to unveil the concept note of One Tech.